I'm sure many of you are familiar with the story of the Tylenol crisis in the 1980s and how Johnson & Johnson responded when 7 people died after ingesting cyanide-laced capsules in Chicago. The decision to remove over $100 million of product from shelves worldwide was initially seen as a massive overreaction. But this soon changed to praise as not only the right moral decision, but a coup for a company that clearly put people above products. When Tylenol was reintroduced with the now revolutionary tamper-proof packaging and the caplet, Johnson & Johnson's market share that had plummeted during the crisis was reinstated within 2 years. And 30+ years on, this is still seen as a textbook example of how a company can effectively manage a real big problem in a crisis and reinstate the trust and confidence of its customers. Clearly, you're familiar with this story. Fire Festival was a musical festival organized by would-be tech entrepreneur Billy McFarland and musician Ja Rule. And the festival promised an exclusive event staged over 2 weekends on a private island once owned by Pablo Escobar in the Bahamas. Tickets sold for thousands of dollars, some as much as $250,000 for a deluxe package. And attendees were promised not just an exclusive event, but luxurious accommodations, island cuisine, and of course a killer concert. The afternoon before the event was scheduled to begin, musical acts started to pull out one by one, citing their lack of confidence in the organizers' ability to pull off the festival. That evening, concert-goers began arriving via chartered planes from Chicago. And instead of being checked in to the luxurious accommodations, they found a gravel lot, scattered disaster relief tents, a skeleton staff, and instead of the island cuisine, the now infamous cheese sandwich. This is just one small example of what can happen when trust is eroded. But this can quickly scale when data is involved. When it was unveiled that Cambridge Analytica had harvested the personal data of millions of Facebook users' accounts, it was a watershed moment in the public's view of how their data can be used without their consent. In this case, it was for political purposes. And it's triggered calls for the regulation of how Facebook manages its data, and has even become a platform for some US presidential candidates to justify the breakup of big tech. When trust is eroded, it's not just a moral issue or an inconvenience like fire. It can be a significant barrier to how companies can grow and scale. We know that trust is a key element to society. It unifies our families, our communities, even the way we're governed. And we know that it's a key component to how any company succeeds. We also know that reputation is the measurement by which our customers and our communities trust us. In our data-driven, hyper-connected world, technology has enabled exponential opportunities, opportunities to share, exchange, and create data. And if data is the new oil, a commodity good, then trust is indeed a currency. And for companies, that means we need to think about trust at every touch point. Done well, this is not simply an expression of our brand. It can be a huge competitive advantage. And in a future where trust is paramount, we need to think about authentic engagement. We need to be inclusive, and we need to think about how we build experiences and products that are relevant to our customers. And for the next few minutes, I'd like to talk about how a framework of trust can not only allow us to grow our business and introduce new experiences, but it can be done without compromising the privacy and security of Canadians. Our approach to innovation has to be anchored in facts and evidences that are irrefutable. When everything is connected to everything, not only do we need to be able to prove we are who we say we are, but we need to prove that each of the interactions are authentic, that these are the real assets and things that we are connecting to. The viability of our digital future relies on this authenticity, that we can prove that we are connecting to the people and the things that we believe we're connecting to. These interactions need to be based on something we trust. In the world of digital ID, we call these things foundational attributes. These are the things that we use to illustrate or prove that we are, in fact, who we say we are. And they're the things that most of us have. They're our passports, our birth certificates, and even our citizenship cards. These foundational attributes not just help us prove who we are, but they help us enter and move through the prosperity value chain. We use them to obtain credentials like a driver's license, a health card, or even a social insurance number. And those supporting credentials are used to enter into trusted relationships. We use them to open a bank account, get a credit card, and as those relationships grow, we're able to apply for a loan, get a car, buy a home, even get a line of credit for a luxury item. Without these foundational attributes, it's very difficult to enter and move along the prosperity value chain. And if we're to build a world of abundance, we need to ensure that we can provide these authentic engagements and that we can use credentials that are verified. So if we have a foundation that we can trust, we can start to innovate and create great experiences and new products, right? But we also need to be inclusive. We all know that diversity of thought produces better solutions. This isn't a new idea. A 2018 study by Boston Consulting Group found that companies that celebrate diversity typically have a higher revenues, and that for management teams that embrace diversity have up to 19% higher revenue due to innovation. I like that stat. So we need to be inclusive. We need to think about the needs and desires of all of our customers, even those in remote communities or new Canadian immigrants. This is something at Interac we know quite well. For 35 years, we've been enabling Canadians to transact securely all across the country, both in our big cities and in our remote communities. And we've built a foundation of trust with our financial institutions and with businesses and retailers and Canadians all across Canada. And I'm proud to say for the 4th year running, we've been named by the Gustafson Trust Index as the #1 trusted financial services brand in Canada. Thank you. But how can we ensure that we're inclusive? It's an interesting challenge, because when everything is connected, inclusivity is inescapable. But trust once again becomes really important and paramount to the success of our future reality. Here's why. To deliver trust in those authentic interactions, we not only have to think about the 37+ million of us, but we also have to think about every device and every node we're connected to. And by 2020, which is next year, Gartner predicts that internet-connected devices will outnumber humans 4 to 1. So we must be inclusive when we're thinking about innovation, both in how we develop those new products, how we bring them to market, and how we think about what is needed for the future. But we also need to think about how these things scale. That's a challenge at Interac we think about every day. So when we now have this kind of foundation of trust, and we're inclusive, and we start to think about the amazing experiences our companies can bring to market, we also need to think about the needs and desires and the relevancy to our customers. And we certainly know that what is relevant today will likely not be relevant tomorrow. The technology and tools that we use to create these experiences will change, as will the experiences. In our hyper-connected world, we're producing more and more data. And this sets the stage for amazing technology like artificial intelligence or machine learning to better understand and predict, design, and even architect the needs and desires of our future reality. So this framework of trust is needed not just to verify who we are and that our interactions are authentic, but to help us transform that prosperity value chain into a web of prosperity. And when this web grows, something very interesting starts to happen. When everyone is connected, regardless of age, status, location, everything becomes inclusive. Things that were once unattainable for us start to be available. And when innovation is delivered on this framework of trust, it can not only deliver some amazing experiences, but it can be a catalyst for abundance. So what can we do? We can ensure when we're building these amazing Canadian innovative solutions that we build in authentic interactions at every touch point, that we strive for our organizations to be inclusive and diverse, and then when we deliver these products to market, they're relevant and they're solving the challenges and creating opportunities for our customers. Imagine, if you will, a world where there is no second guessing the authenticity and validity of data, where trust is delivered in every conversation, in every interaction, and in every transaction, and where there are no cheese sandwiches. Trust will transform the way we think about everything, the way we think about wealth, power, politics, even our digital selves in the 21st century. And building trust into that ecosystem allows us to build a world of prosperity and abundance. This is perhaps our greatest challenge, but it's also our greatest opportunity. Thank you.